Today, we're looking at a knife that has a silly sounding name but packs a serious punch, and that is the Kunwu Stiffy P. If you have a slightly juvenile sense of humor like I do, that probably made you chuckle, but behind that funny name is one heck of a knife. So let's take a look at it. Now, the base price on this is going to be either $129 or $139, depending on the scale material and the blade finish, but let's take a look at what you get for that price. The total length on this is 6.69 inches, so it's a relatively compact knife. This model comes with the black micarta scales, although there are also purple G10 scales available. And this has a 3-inch blade. This one is a satin finish. It is also available in a polished DLC and a stonewash finish. The polished DLC comes in both the black and the purple scales. I believe the stonewash and the satin only come in the black scales here. Now, the real star of the show here for me, though, is the steel, and that is Vanadis 8. If you can see it, it is very tiny print there. There we go. Vanadis 8 steel. Now, that is not an especially common steel in knives, which is actually the big reason that I bought this. And the properties of Vanadis 8 are approximately in the same range as like a 10V or a K390. So you're looking at a steel with very solid toughness and very good edge retention. So a very high performing balanced steel. Now the trade-off for that is this is not a stainless steel, but it does contain 4.8% chromium. So you are getting a little bit more corrosion resistance than low alloy steels like say a 1095 or a 52-100. So enough about the materials. Let's get into the ergos. Now the micarta scales are very nicely contoured. You can see it has a little bit of a palm swell there, and it really fits the hand comfortably. And you can see it has the front choil here, which allows you to choke up on the knife, get a very comfortable grip there. But you can also choke down and still get a full 4-finger grip, even if you have big old hands like me. But for me, it is much more comfortable to choke up into that choil right there. Now, there is jimping on the back of the blade, as you can see right here. Now, I wish that jimping went a little farther forward because where my finger naturally falls is just a tiny bit past that, but that's a little minor quibble. And I also wish it had some jimping up here so that when you're doing those cuts with your finger up here, you can index off that. But again, that's not the end of the world. That's not a big deal to me. Now, there's also, interestingly, some jimping at the base of the handle here. And what I'm guessing that's for is, like, say you're carrying it deep in the pocket and you go to grab it by the base right here, can help you get a little bit of extra grip, or maybe just, help you find that texture. So I don't use it, but that is kind of a neat little addition that they have down there. Now, as I mentioned, I would like to see some jimping up here and a little bit longer jimping. But really, I mean, as far as the ergos go, I find it to be very, very comfortable and really just melds into your hand. So next, let's talk about the sheath. So I'm going to put this down and bring the sheath back in here. Now, it is a very good quality Kydex sheath. I'm going to pop those off. And I did not detect a whole lot of rattle. Let's get it back in here and see if we hear any rattling. I do not hear any rattling. If you hear any rattling, what I think that is actually my soft loops here. But I do not hear any noticeable rattle when I have it in there. Now, it comes with a Tech-Lock style clip and a metal pocket clip. Neither of those really fits the way that I carry, so I toss those in a drawer. I really don't know where they are. But as you can see, what I went with is soft loops so that I can carry it horizontally on my belt. Now, there are plenty of grommets here, so you can see the two that I use, and then there's plenty down here and up here. So you could use a bunch of different kind of pocket clips. You could use an ulti clip. I did experiment with that on this a little bit, but I ended up settling on the soft loops. I do wish, as far as the sheath, I wish they had it come a little bit farther down so I could get in the choil right away instead of having to draw like that and move back up into the choil. I just wish you could get into the choil immediately, but with the design of the knife and the design of the sheath, I understand why they did that the way they did. Just, a little preference of mine. But really, overall, it is a good quality sheath. Now, on to carry and practicality. So this is not an ultralight knife, but it's also not a really heavy knife. So it's not difficult to carry. And like I mentioned, the sheath gives you grommets. So you have a lot of different options for mounting. So this can be just as at home on your belt as it is in your pocket. And actually, for that purpose, I will bring in the old pants and belt simulator here. So when I carry it, I carry it horizontally on the belt. I usually carry it appendix cross draw. So this is actually on the opposite side of what it would normally be. But you can get an idea of how that will sit on your belt. And if you ever use these soft loops, they have different holes on the back so you can actually adjust the ride height and things like that. But that is approximately how it will sit on your belt. Now, if you wanted to carry it in the pocket, obviously I don't have an ulti-clip, so you aren't going to see exactly how it would go in there. But you can just kind of see, theoretically, you could have it out like that. It's not super loud in your pocket. Nobody's going to notice it unless they're looking for it, kind of thing. So really, lots of good options as far as carry goes. So on to build quality. Now this came very sharp. And when I tested it on paper, I was really impressed by it. Just like, usually I have to, kind of try to line it up, but I'm just going to drop it like straight onto the paper and just go through. It is insanely sharp. Like, I'm not having to line it up and get it right. I'm just going to right down onto the paper. It is really impressively sharp. Probably one of the sharpest knives that I have from the factory. And that's not just the case for paper. It'll also do that through cardboard. It is just an absolute laser of a cutting edge. I was really, really impressed by the sharpness of this from the factory. And the finish on it is very clean and even. If you see any marks on it, it's just because, I cut through that cardboard, wipe them off, and they'll go away. The micarta feels great. It has just a little bit of texture to it, but it's relatively smooth, and everything lines up how it should. There's really nothing that I can nitpick about this knife as far as the build quality. One of the things that I thought was really cool is the way they did these screws. So they look kind of like hollow pins when you first look at them. But as you can see on this side, this is actually a hex on this side. And then this side, you would use a flathead screwdriver. So these are actually removable. They're not like, even though they look like hollow pins, they are removable, which I thought was a really, really cool design choice. So yeah, overall build quality is fantastic on this thing. So let's look at some size comparisons for it. Now, the one that I compare it to the most, just because of the blade shape and the overall size, is the Essie Azula. You can see some obvious design similarities there. Not the exact same blade shape, but general design and size is very, very similar. And the next one, if you saw my budget knife or premium knives with budget alternatives, this is the budget alternative I gave for the Kunwu Stiffy P, and that is the Azusa Smallmouth. Next, I'm going to bring in the Buck Alpha Scout Pro and the Schwarz Overland Sport. And last but not least, the Kizer Mini Harpoon. So these are all knives that are relatively similar in size. So it gives you kind of an idea of the blade shape, the size, really. And these are all different prices too. So these are kind of some good comparisons depending on what you have, what you want. Really good size comparisons there. And I actually, as far as blade shape goes, I think this may have one of the most utilitarian blade shapes, but again, lots of good options here. So let's get these out of the way and get into the specific pros and cons for me of the Stiffy P. So as far as pros go, this is a great steel and one you don't see every day. So if you like, rarer or less common steels, great option for that. As I mentioned, it is very comfortable in the hand. It really falls into your hand naturally. Like, I really don't have to try to find my grip on this. It just really naturally falls into my hand. The sheath, as I mentioned, has a lot of flexibility, lets you carry it several different ways. And as I mentioned, the fit and finish on this is fantastic. Now, on to the cons. This is not a stainless steel, so you will need to do some minor maintenance to minimize patina and avoid corrosion, but it's not going to be, again, like a 1095 or 52100 where it has virtually no corrosion resistance. Also, I mentioned the jimping. I would like the jimping to come out a little bit farther and maybe have some jimping up here towards the tip. But again, not a huge deal to me, but it is a con if I'm trying to really pick on that. And last but not least, the front choil is good. I wouldn't mind this being slightly bigger up here, just, especially with my big fingers, just a slightly bigger choil would be a little bit more comfortable. But that is also probably one of those things that if you don't have big old hands like I do, it probably will not bug you. So ultimately, the big question is, would I buy this again and would I recommend it? And the answer to that is absolutely. I would say that this is a must if you're a steel junkie like me. And even if you're not, it's still an incredibly solid design in a high performance steel. So it definitely gets my thumbs up. Now, if you're into EDC fixed blades, but you don't want to spend Stiffy P money, check out my fixed blades under $100 video, which I will have up here. There are some great options if you don't want to go above $100. So again, go over and check that video out if you want a cheaper option. But I definitely, if you are willing to spend $129 or $139, highly recommend the Kunwu Stiffy P. And with that said, until next time, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and I will see you in the next video.